Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking ahead.
To the future.
Yeah. Specifically,
A future of jobs.
yeah, the future of jobs. We're diving into the World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs Report 2025, which it gathered insights from over 1,000 global employers,
Right.
representing a whopping 14.1 million workers across tons of industries
Oh, wow.
and economies.
Yeah.
So think of this deep dive as your cheat sheet
Yeah.
to understanding what skills will be most valuable in the coming years
Okay.
and what this all means for you.
What I find really interesting is that this report, it doesn't just speculate,
Yeah.
It's based on real world data.
Right.
So we can get some pretty solid answers about what the future of work might look like.
All right, so let's unpack this.
Okay.
The report breaks down the forces that are shaping the future of work.
Right.
And technology is, of course, a big one.
Yeah.
But it's not just robots coming for our jobs, right?
Right. The report actually highlights broadening digital access
Yeah.
as the most impactful trend,
Uh-huh.
even more than AI or robots.
Okay.
It's affecting a full 60% of businesses.
Now that's surprising.
Right.
Why is digital access so important?
Think of it this way. Digital access is the foundation
Okay.
for just about everything else in this report.
Okay.
It's crucial for online learning, working remotely,
Mm-hmm.
sharing information.
Right.
It really levels the playing field globally.
So it's like building a road system
Exactly.
that allows all this other new technology to move around.
Exactly. And speaking of new technology,
Yeah.
AI and information processing
Yeah.
are set to transform a massive 86% of businesses.
Wow.
One fascinating trend that we're seeing is
Yeah.
the boom in demand for generative AI training.
I'm curious to hear more about that.
Well, the demand for these skills is exploding everywhere,
Really?
but especially in India and the US.
Okay.
But there's a key difference in their approach. Individual users in the US are more focused on core skills,
Okay.
like prompt engineering,
Prompt engineering.
which is basically learning how to give AI clear instructions,
Okay.
and trustworthy AI,
Yeah.
which means understanding how to use AI ethically.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, institutions in India are focused on using AI for very practical applications within businesses.
So the U.S. is focused on the individual using AI,
Yeah.
and India is looking at how AI can make businesses more productive right now.
Right.
I guess that makes sense given where each country is in terms of technological development.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It really highlights how different regions
Yeah.
are approaching AI based on their specific priorities.
Okay, that makes sense, but let's face it,
Okay.
technology isn't the only thing we're all thinking about.
Right.
Economic uncertainty is another huge factor these days,
Yeah.
and the report definitely doesn't shy away from that.
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
The rising cost of living is a major concern.
Yeah.
In fact, it's the second biggest trend impacting businesses.
It feels like everyone is feeling that pinch right now.
Mm-hmm.
How does this report say rising costs are impacting businesses specifically?
Well, over 50% of employers surveyed said that it's forcing them to make changes.
Okay.
Plus, even though global inflation is predicted to slow down,
Yeah.
42% of businesses are still worried about a general economic slowdown.
I can see why that would be a worry.
Yeah.
So we've got
So we got,
technological disruption
yes.
and economic instability. Are we missing anything else?
Well, you can't forget about geopolitical fragmentation.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And it's not just about the U.S. and China,
Mhm.
although they are definitely key players.
So who else is being impacted by this fragmentation?
Countries that trade heavily with the U.S. and China
Okay.
are feeling it the most.
Okay.
For example, 64% of businesses in Singapore
Wow.
and 71% of businesses in South Korea say they're being affected.
That's a big percentage of businesses facing this uncertainty. What's the main takeaway for them?
This global tension is forcing businesses to get creative.
Okay.
34% of organizations are having to change their business models to deal with these new challenges.
It sounds like it's forcing a lot of businesses to completely rethink their
Yeah.
operations.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that has a ripple effect on jobs.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It creates a whole new level of complexity in the job market.
Definitely. Okay, so we've got technology,
Right.
the economy,
Right.
and global politics all swirling around.
Right.
Is there anything else we need to be thinking about?
Well, there's also the little matter of climate change.
Okay, right.
This is the third most significant trend overall.
Okay.
And there are two main ways that businesses are responding.
I'm guessing those two ways are mitigation and adaptation.
You got it.
Okay, but what's the difference in how companies are tackling those?
47% of employers are prioritizing mitigation,
Okay.
which is all about minimizing their environmental impact. But 41% are focusing on adaptation, which is about adjusting to the unavoidable effects of climate change
Right.
that are already here.
So some businesses are trying to prevent further damage,
Yeah.
while others are dealing with the consequences we're already facing.
Exactly.
Are there regional differences in how companies are approaching this?
Definitely.
Okay.
A whopping 72% of businesses in Southeast Asia see mitigation as a game changer,
Wow. Okay.
compared to just 19% in Central Asia.
That's a huge gap.
Right.
What's driving that difference?
Well, Southeast Asia is much more vulnerable to things like
Yeah.
rising sea levels
Yeah.
and extreme weather events.
Right.
So it makes sense that they'd be more focused on mitigating future damage.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
This raises an important question for you listening. How is climate change affecting your work right now? Is your company taking steps to mitigate or adapt? It's something we all need to be thinking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This report really drives home the point that climate change is having a very real impact on businesses right now.
Right.
Not just in the future.
And to wrap up our overview of the major forces at play,
Okay.
we can't forget about demographic shifts.
Right.
Okay.
We're seeing this two-sided dynamic of
Yeah.
aging populations in developed countries
Mm-hmm.
and booming working age populations
Right.
in lower income countries.
So countries like Japan and Germany are dealing with a shrinking workforce,
Right.
while places like India and sub-Saharan Africa have a huge influx of young people
Right.
entering the job market. Right?
Exactly. And while this influx of young workers in emerging economies presents incredible opportunities,
Yeah.
it also comes with risks.
Okay.
The report estimates that 1.2 billion young adults
Wow.
will enter the workforce in these countries over the next 10 years.
Okay.
But there will only be around 420 million new jobs created.
So there's a huge potential workforce.
Yeah.
But not enough jobs to go around. That
Yeah.
sounds like a potential recipe for disaster.
It definitely creates a lot of urgency
Yeah.
around preparing for these changes,
Mm.
both globally and individually.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the core question
Yeah.
of this deep dive. What does this all mean for your job?
That's the question on everyone's mind, right?
Yeah.
What does the future hold for our jobs?
Well,
Luckily, the Future of Jobs report gives us some concrete answers about what jobs
Yeah.
will be in high demand and which ones are on the decline.
it's fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
The report predicts that by 2030,
Okay.
almost a quarter of all jobs will be impacted by these changes.
Wow.
We're talking 170 million new jobs created,
Okay.
but also 92 million jobs displaced.
Wow, that's a lot of change to wrap our heads around.
Yeah.
But it's not all bad news, right?
No, not at all. Overall, there will be a net increase of 78 million jobs.
Okay.
But the real key is understanding which jobs are growing and which are shrinking,
Right.
so you can adapt and position yourself for success.
So adaptability is key.
Yeah.
I think we all knew that on some level.
Right.
But it's helpful to hear it confirmed. What are some of the fastest growing jobs they highlight in the report?
As you might expect, tech roles are high on the list.
Okay.
They're talking AI and machine learning specialists.
Yeah.
Of course.
Right, of course.
But it's not just about the digital world.
Okay.
Renewable energy engineers and electric vehicle specialists are also in high demand.
So there's hope for those of us who are interested in a green career shift.
Absolutely.
Okay.
The green transition is a huge area for job growth.
Yeah,
It's a whole new sector that will need skilled workers.
that's really encouraging.
Yeah.
What else is on the rise?
Believe it or not, even something like a delivery driver is becoming a booming profession.
Really? I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah.
What's driving that growth?
It's a combination of technology and demographics.
Okay.
E-commerce is booming,
Yeah,
and we're all shopping online more than ever.
right.
Plus, as the global population keeps growing,
Yeah.
particularly in emerging economies, that means more people ordering goods and needing those deliveries.
So it's kind of a perfect storm.
Yeah.
Creating unexpected job growth.
Right?
That's a good reminder that the future of work is not always predictable.
Right.
What about jobs in healthcare?
Another area of rapid growth,
Okay.
the care economy, as it's called, is booming.
Yeah.
Jobs like nursing professionals, social workers, and personal care aides
Mm-hmm.
are in high demand, driven by the aging populations in developed countries.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah,
The aging population is creating jobs,
right.
but also, as we were talking about earlier,
Yeah,
It's creating workforce shortages in some countries.
Exactly. It's a complex issue with no easy solutions.
Okay, so we've got tech jobs,
Okay.
green jobs, delivery services, and healthcare all on the rise.
Yeah.
That's quite a mix.
Right.
What about the jobs on the decline?
Okay.
Any surprises there?
Well, a lot of it is what you might expect.
Okay.
Clerical roles, administrative assistants, data entry jobs.
Right.
These are the jobs that can be easily automated.
Yeah.
And that trend's only going to accelerate.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Those roles have been shrinking for a while now.
Right.
Are there any less obvious jobs that are also on the decline?
Here's one you might not have guessed. Accountants and auditors.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I always thought those were pretty safe, stable jobs.
Yeah.
What's driving that decline?
AI is changing the game.
Okay.
Accounting software is becoming super sophisticated.
Yeah.
You can do things that used to require a human accountant,
Right.
like analyzing tons of financial documents and finding potential problems.
So even jobs that we traditionally thought of as secure aren't immune to disruption.
That's the reality we're facing.
Yeah.
It shows the importance of continuous learning and upskilling,
Right.
even if you think your job is safe.
You can never rest on your laurels. It sounds like the key is to be adaptable
Right.
and stay ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Is there anything in the report that really surprised you?
The most surprising thing to me was that technology can actually create growth and decline
Okay.
in the same job.
Wait, what do you mean?
Yeah.
How is that possible?
Take programming as an example.
Okay.
Basic coding skills are becoming more common.
Yeah.
And those entry-level jobs are starting to be automated.
Okay.
But at the same time, there's a huge and growing need for very specialized programmers.
Right.
People who can work with AI, build complex software, and push the boundaries of what's possible with technology.
So it's not enough to just know how to code.
Right.
You have to be an expert and constantly learning new things.
Exactly. That's a trend we see across almost every industry.
Okay, so we've got a sense of the jobs that are rising and falling.
Right.
But what about the skills employers are looking for?
Okay.
What do we need to be learning to thrive in this new world of work? That is the big question, isn't it? What skills should we be focusing on
Right.
to navigate this rapidly changing job market? What does the report say about that?
Well, there's some good news. It looks like the pace of skill disruption is actually stabilizing.
Oh, okay.
Remember we were talking about 39% of core skills needing to change by 2030.
Yeah, I remember thinking that was a lot of change to keep up with.
It is a lot.
Yeah.
But it's actually down from 44% in 2023.
Oh, okay.
So it seems like maybe we're getting better at adapting
Yeah.
to this constant disruption.
So maybe disruption is becoming less of a shock and more of the new normal.
Exactly.
Okay, but which skills are the most valuable
Right.
in this new world of work?
Unsurprisingly, analytical thinking is still at the top of the list.
Okay.
It's the #1 skill employers are looking for.
Okay.
But right behind that are skills like
Yeah.
resilience, flexibility, and leadership.
So it's not enough to just be smart. You also need to be able to, right, roll with the punches,
Right.
work well with others, and lead effectively.
Exactly. And those are all very human skills that AI can't easily replicate.
Yeah.
They're about emotional intelligence, adaptability,
Yeah.
building relationships.
Right.
In a world where technology is taking over so many tasks,
Yeah.
those human skills are becoming even more important.
I love that. It's a good reminder that our humanity is still our greatest asset.
Right.
Okay, so we need analytical skills and human skills.
Right.
But what about specific skills? What's hot right now?
Well, AI and big data are at the top of the list,
Okay.
along with cybersecurity.
Uh-huh.
But what's really interesting is that creative thinking and curiosity
Oh, wow.
are also in high demand.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to understand technology,
Right.
but also think outside the box
Yeah.
and be a lifelong learner.
Yeah.
That connects back to what we were talking about with generative AI, right?
Exactly.
The need to be creative when interacting with these new tools.
It's about combining those technical skills
Yeah,
with uniquely human qualities that drive innovation.
it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Now, what about the skills that are becoming less important? I'm guessing things like...
Physical strength and manual dexterity
Right.
aren't as valuable as they used to be.
You're right. Physical abilities are definitely seeing the biggest decline,
Okay.
which reflects the shift away from manual labor.
Right.
But here's a bit of a curveball. Reading, writing, and math
What?
are also declining in importance.
Hold on. Those are fundamental skills. Why are they becoming less important?
It's not that they're not important at all.
Okay.
It's that the basic levels of these skills
Okay.
are being automated.
Right.
What employers really need now
Yeah.
is a higher level of mastery.
Okay.
Think critical thinking,
Okay.
complex problem solving,
Yeah.
creative writing, those kinds of skills.
So it's not about abandoning those foundational skills. It's
Right.
about pushing them to a more sophisticated level.
Precisely. And that brings us to the idea of skill gaps and opportunities.
Okay.
The report highlights resilience, flexibility, and programming skills
Right.
as the biggest differentiators between jobs that are growing and those that are declining.
It all comes back to adaptability, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Being able to pivot, learn new things,
Right.
and embrace new technologies is essential for staying ahead of the curve.
Absolutely. But here's another interesting point.
Okay.
Even manual dexterity is still in demand for certain growing roles, like drafters or mechanics.
So it's not just about tech skills.
Right.
It's about finding that intersection of technology and specialized human skills.
Exactly. That's the sweet spot where human ingenuity meets technological advancement.
Okay, so we've got a good sense of the skills we need.
Okay.
But how do we actually learn them? What's the role of training in all of this?
The report is very clear that training is crucial.
Okay.
The good news is that about half of all workers
Yeah.
have already completed some kind of training program.
Okay, that's good.
But here's the thing.
Okay.
59 out of every 100 workers
Wow.
will still need training by 2030.
So we're making progress, but there's still a long way to go.
Right.
What about funding? Who's paying for all this training?
Most of the time, employers are footing the bill themselves.
Okay.
But free training is also pretty common.
Okay.
We're even seeing some public-private partnerships popping up,
Oh, wow.
especially in certain sectors.
That's encouraging. It shows that people are recognizing the importance of investing in workforce development.
Right.
But what are the outcomes of all this training? Is it just about boosting productivity?
It's much more than that.
Okay.
It's also about things like improving talent retention
Right.
and helping workers transition to new roles.
So it's about equipping people to adapt and move into new opportunities.
Exactly. Really addresses those anxieties
Yeah.
about job displacement.
Right. It's not just about like desperately
Right.
clinging to the job that you have.
Right.
It's about understanding that there might be something else out there.
Exactly. The future of work isn't about being replaced by robots.
Right.
It's about working alongside them
Yeah.
and using them to our advantage.
It's an augmentation mindset, not a replacement mindset.
Exactly. And the report shows that most employers feel the same way.
Okay.
The most common strategy is to reskill workers,
Yeah.
to
Okay.
collaborate with AI, not to replace them entirely.
That's a much more optimistic way to look at it. It's
Yeah.
about humans and machines working together, each playing to their strengths.
Right. And even in cases where companies do anticipate reducing their workforce,
Okay.
and that's only about 40% of those surveyed,
Okay.
they often plan to hire for new AI-related roles.
So it's about reshaping the workforce, not just shrinking it.
That's the key takeaway.
Okay.
The future of work isn't about being replaced.
Right.
It's about being adaptable,
Yeah.
learning new skills,
Mm-hmm.
and embracing new technologies.
Well said. I think we've covered a ton of ground today.
Well, yeah.
We've talked about the forces shaping the future of work. Right. The jobs that are growing and shrinking,
Mm-hmm.
the skills that will be most valuable,
Yes.
and the importance of training and reskilling.
Yeah.
It's been a fascinating deep dive into the Future of Jobs report.
I hope it's left our listeners feeling energized
Yeah.
and ready to take charge of their own careers.
Me too. But before we go, I want to leave you with one final thought.
Okay.
This report is based on the perspectives of employers.
Right.
What about the employee perspective?
Right.
What are your priorities for the future of work?
Yeah.
What do you want to be doing 5, 10, or even 20 years from now?
Yeah.
And how can you shape your own career path to make that happen?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Remember, you are in the driver's seat of your own career.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to take ownership and create the future you want.
Couldn't agree more. And of course, if you're interested in diving deeper into the data yourself,
Yeah.
we encourage you to check out the full Future of Jobs Report 2025 and their interactive data explorer tool.
Mhm.
You can find links to those resources in our show notes.
And on that note,
Yeah.
we'll leave you to ponder the possibilities.
Okay.
Until next time, stay curious, keep learning, and embrace the future of work.
That's it for our deep dive, everyone. We hope you enjoyed it and are feeling inspired to tackle whatever the future throws your way. Until next time, stay curious.